Kanikat Behi and welcome to SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Dennis Allen. Every summer we go to our whaling camp 120 miles by boat from Inuvik. This summer my father Victor, my sister Shirley, my cousin Lawrence and SUAANGAN producer Loreen made the trip. This was Des's first time whaling. It was a time for him to connect to his cultural roots. It's a time for me to reflect on my life and the land that I love. We hope you enjoy this episode, Beluga Days of Summer. Welcome to SUAANGAN, Our Strength, right here on APTN. The first leg of our trip was to our Delta camp to pick up equipment we'd need at Baby Island. The Delta camp is located approximately 40 miles downstream on the Mackenzie River. The Delta is a maze of rivers, lakes, and creeks. To travel through the Delta, you must weave your way in and out of hundreds of little tributaries that eventually empty into the Beaufort Sea. You have to be careful of where you are at all times. It's easy to get lost when everything looks similar. Even experienced hunters get lost in this amazing water system, though most of them don't like to admit it, including myself. Another thing to look out for are sandbars. The Delta is made up of silt and the water carves new channels for itself every year, and sandbars are always forming. Boat captains pride themselves on their water reading abilities, and sandbars, well, they're always someone else's fault. It takes a big man to admit to hitting a sandbar. After we landed, we set up my dad and my sister in the house and we went to set our tent at the flats. I wanted Des to experience our real camp. We could have easily fit into the cabin, but I figured it would be more authentic to sleep in a tent. The coast is windy and we had to make sure that our tent was tied down and snug. Little did we know that we'd have to fortify our position to keep from getting blown into the water. When the wind blows, you have to dig in your heels to keep from becoming tumbleweed. It was about 4 in the morning when we settled into our camp. We christened it Wrangel Island, after Vilhjalmur Stephenson's doomed expedition of 1910. We'd been up since 7 the morning before, so we were pretty beat by the time we hit the sack. It was a good day and sleeping on Baby Island was a good reward for our efforts. That night, the winds picked up from the north and blew in a fog off the ice a few miles out. So it was getting pretty chilly by the time we knocked off for the night. Des found some time to do a little video diary before turning out the light.
All right, well, we're here. It's day 1 of Beluga Days of Summer. The shoot is awesome. It's
Beluga Days of Summer.
We spent the whole day, I think, from the morning just kind of preparing for the trip and doing some shopping and, you know, all the basic stuff that you would do, I guess. Afternoon rolled around. I thought we were going to be heading out a little earlier. We actually left at 5:30. There were 2 boats, and it was pretty nice. The weather was okay. I tried sleeping. Sleeping wasn't going to happen. It was too loud, way too loud. And we continued on for a hugely long stretch of water. It was, what was it, like 14K?
14 miles?
14 miles, and that's, man, that was crazy. So it was a long, straight, peaceful, I guess. The water was okay. We got some really good shots of that too. That was nice with the boat. and the reflection of the water. I found what Farewell is. That was cool. We stopped by there, and Dennis got to relive some of his old days. Apparently, driving a loader is like driving a bike. You can do it all the time. And I hope they don't mind the fact that we have muck duck tables now because of them. So hopefully we'll be able to use
Thanks,
those.
Shell Oil.
Yeah, you guys rule, man. Yeah.
Go and drill anywhere you want now.
Exactly. We'll enjoy this place now while we can, you know.
When we get our camp settled, we had to construct a new muck duck yard. We'd shared one in the past with my Uncle Colin, but we needed our own. Of course, there were more guys watching than there were working. I'm sure Lawrence felt like he was working for the government. I got so busy telling stories I forgot I was working. We have to dig deep to secure the base because fall storms are very rough and can wash away any structures not securely anchored. We dug down until we hit water about 2.5 feet into the ground. In the end, we had a good solid rack, even if we didn't use it this year. I hope it makes it through to next year. We'll be right back with more of Beluga Days of Summer right here on APTN. Welcome back to SUAANGAN and more of Beluga Days of Summer right here on APTN. And what good is a muck duck rack without a cutting table? So that was next on the agenda.
Good. Oh, man. Sweet. Yeah. That guy should have kept you up there.
If only we could work this fast in town, there'd be not much left to do. After we made our table, we built a windbreak for our fire. The flats are pretty windy and it's good to sit around the fire without any wind and enjoy a good cup of tea. That night, the winds picked up from the north and blew in a fog off the ice a few miles out. So it was getting pretty chilly by the time we knocked off for the night. That night, Des did a segment for his video library.
We're into day 3 of the trip, I guess, or the full second day. This morning we were rudely awoken by the wind. And it was coming at us pretty hard. The bottom of the tent wasn't really secure in the front. And next thing you know, we got this big balloon thing happening, and it was pretty funny. I think we're gonna see a bit of that. And so we went over to the actual camp, Victor's place, and we had a good rest there. What's going on right now is a crazy windstorm. When we came back, the wind was coming down from the south, and it was okay. You know, we worked and we got our tent set up and everything was windproofed. And then we come inside the tent for a while, and Dennis goes out for a walk, and all of a sudden we come out of the tent and the wind is going totally the other direction, like harder. So now we're in the middle of this huge wind thing. Like the tent is all, you know, getting blown away and the frame is up. We just tied some of it down and probably have to tie up more of it. And it's really windy out there. But it's cool because this is something you don't experience, you know, when you're in town. So, man, this is cool. Looking forward to tomorrow.
This is what our tent looked like after a few good blows. We had to get up in the middle of the night to make this windbreak, but it was fun and good work. Good work keeps you honest, I say. The next day, whales were spotted out in the bay, so we took off hoping to get a beluga. There were other hunters out, so we hunted with them. The whales were staying in deep water where they are relatively safe. In the deep, they can submerge for up to 5 minutes.
There's 2 holes over here, someplace.
Okay.
There's 2 holes over there.
Okay.
Over there, someplace.
Hunters prefer to hunt whales in the shallows where they can only submerge for a minute or two and are easily tracked.
Coil your line up.
Shooting way over there, right?
They're way over, yeah.
Still on. Still on, yeah.
Hey, hang on.
It's already over there.
After a couple of failed attempts, we went to Tommylandic Harbour to look out on Gary Island to see if we could spot any whales coming in.
Go back toward that point. How's that better luck up there?
We'll be right back with more of Beluga Days of Summer right here on APTN. Welcome back to SUAANGAN and more of Beluga Days of Summer right here on APTN.
Doesn't make too much noise, I guess. Well, they hear the motor already anyway.
The wind was picking up and we had little luck there too, but we waited nonetheless. After a couple of hours we headed home, maybe tomorrow, but not before leaving our marks. My uncle Leonard was successful, so we went to his camp to help him butcher his whale. Once the whale is pulled ashore, the whale monitor records all the particulars about the hunt and takes measurements and samples to monitor the beluga population and their health. The whale is cut into strips and left to drain overnight on logs. The work is labor intensive, so it's good to have some young fellows around to help haul up the mukta. A good sharp knife is your best friend when cutting up a whale. The skin is thick and it's hard on an edge. You need to constantly sharpen your knife. One average size whale can supply about 8 or 9 5-gallon pails of muktak. In the old days when we lived off the land, muktak was a staple in our diets. We used all parts of the whale and made dry meat from the dark flesh. Everything was saved and used. What wasn't used for human consumption was used to feed the dogs. Blubber is good fuel for a dog in the cold winter months. Another whale has been taken at Kendall Island, so Monitor Gilbert Kasuk and his posse move on to the next kill. The next day, my Uncle Colin and I get a whale between here and Gary Island. After we butchered it and let it drain for a day, it's time to start making muktak. The top layer of dried blubber is cut off and fed to the seagulls. My nephew Peyton really enjoys watching the seagulls fight over the scraps of blubber. His little sister Asta looks on with her cousin Leslie. Half the remaining blubber is taken off and stored in a barrel to be rendered for oil. Then the muktak is cut into strips and cubed to hang for another day. This allows the outer skin to dry. When the muktak is boiled, the tough outer skin prevents the muktak from curling and separating between the skin and the fat. Muktaksman Albert Bernhardt brushes any sand off the skin before hanging. Making muktak is no easy task, as you can see, but it sure is worth it when the winter rolls around and you get a hankering for a slab or two of this Inuk delicacy. The trip was successful and we have enough muktak to send to our family members scattered around the north. I look forward to every summer coming out here with my family. Well, that was our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week for more of SUAANGAN Our Strength right here on APTN. Until then, I'm your host, Dennis Allen. Kuya Naini.
I gotta say, this is a real learning experience for me. It's my first time on the land. It's my first time in a real long-term camping situation like this. And I'd like to say I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling great about it. I'm not really homesick because when I'm at home, I'm going to have to be looking back at this as a memory. So I'm living it all up right now as much as I can. So I don't know. Time will tell, but stay strong.